Hello there, programmers, and welcome to yet another one of our programming tutorial series. This time we're going to do something just a little bit different than we typically do in these series. I'm going to dive into a slightly more advanced topic. Today we're going to be covering the basics of how to get started on building our own SQLite clone. Now, for those of you who don't know, SQLite is a relational database that's built around being embeddable within other applications, and it stores the entire database in a single file on your local file system. Now, why are we doing SQLite versus some other relational database? Mainly because SQLite, because it's so self-contained and embeddable, it is much easier to understand and rationalize about than a cloud-distributed relational database system. Okay, so we're going to keep things as simple as possible while covering this advanced topic. I don't want to lose anyone here, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments below, and I'll answer questions as much as I can. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I'm here in my Go workspace, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new directory. Okay, and we're going to call this SQL TUT, so this is going to be our tutorial SQL, and let's go ahead and move into that directory. Oh, CDS. Oh no, I misspelled SQL. So let's do that. SLQTUT and MKDRL SQLTUT. There we go. Hey, look at that. Typos everywhere. Okay, so let's move into SQL TUT. And in here, we're going to do go mod init. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up in inside of my own package structure. So chris-franklin.com/SQLTUT. Okay, that's going to be our new mod file. Now let's go ahead and open up VS Code. So this window will pop up, and we'll see we now have a go mod. Everything we need here. Okay, I'm gonna make this quite a bit bigger here so that everyone can see it much easier. I've had quite a few people ask me to do that, so I've made text as big as possible. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a main.go file. Okay, and so inside of main.go, we're going to create package main. There we go. All right, so we have our main package. All right. Inside of here, let's create func main, and let's set up just a couple of really basic things. Now, the first thing I want to do, I want to set up logging. Okay. Why in the world would I start with setting up logging? We need to be able to see what's happening inside of our system, and what I'm going to use is a logging function, a logging package called zerolog. It's really nice for printing out console logs and JSON logs eventually when we want to move everything into a much better logging format. But we're going to start with it. So to do that, let's go ahead and import. And I'm going to bring in two packages. So we're going to say github.com/rs/zerolog. Okay, so that's going to be the first one, and quotes around that. And then the second one, and remember, do not save this before you're ready to use it, because VS Code will delete them if you're not actively using them. Zerolog/log. Okay, and so down here, I'm going to say log.logger, and we're going to bring this in from. So if you bring in the base logger, it'll overwrite this. So let's go ahead and do the logger from zerolog. Okay. Oh, and it automatically brought that in for me. Oh, I spelled it wrong. That's why it brought it in for me. Man, I am all about the typos today. Okay, so log.logger, and we're going to say log.output. We're going to set the output here and make sure we're bringing it in from zerolog. And then I'm going to say zerolog.console writer. And inside the console writer, we're going to pass a couple of things. So this is a struct. We're going to pass it out, and we're going to say OS. We're going to bring in the OS package dot std error. Okay, and time format, we're going to set to time from the time package dot let's do RFC 3339, just because it's a much nicer output on the command line. It'll just look a little bit prettier than some of the other formats that we could do. Okay, so this is just a really basic, we're setting up a logger, we're configuring it globally, everything looks good there, okay? Now there's a couple other things we could do. We could bring in command line options, we could do things like that, but we don't really need to worry about that. The next thing we're going to do, though, is I'm going to set up a new package inside of here, and this is going to be our CLI package. What we're going to build, our very first go of this, is we're going to build a basic CLI engine so that we can have a REPL for working with our SQL commands, okay? So inside of CLI, I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this new file engine.go, okay? So our CLI engine. Okay, and so let's go ahead and set this up. We're going to see package CLI, and then inside of here, we're going to need a couple of functions to make this work. So let's start with our public-facing function. Now remember, if you haven't done this before, go ahead and go back and do the Go crash course that I previously published. That'll help you get up to speed on Go packages, Go methods, things like that. But here what we're going to do is we're going to do a public method, and we're going to call this public method start prompt, okay? Now, we can take something in here. I'm going to go ahead and take in the file that we're going to be working with. And we're not going to do anything with this yet, but we're prepping for when we actually launch this with a particular database file. So let's go ahead and get that ready to go. So we're going to take in file, and then inside of here, we're going to set up a new system. Okay, so we're going to set up our prompt. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to use a package called Go prompt. Okay. And so let's go ahead and import that up at the top so that I have it ready to use. And I'm going to import it as prompt just so that it's easier for me to work with. github.com/cbada/go-prompt. Okay. So that's what we're going to use here is the prompt package. Now, inside of my start prompt, I'm going to say p:= and I'm going to say prompt.new and new. There we go. And inside of here, I'm going to pass a couple of things. So I need an executor as part of this, and I'm going to create a new function for this, and I'm going to pass in the file as part of that. And then I need a completer function, okay? And then let's set up a couple of things. Let's set up prompt.option title, and let's pass in welcome to SQL tutorial. Okay, something like that. Something silly. Okay, whatever. And then I'm going to set up a starting prompt. So option prefix, and the prefix I'm going to say SQL. There we go. Let's do that. All right. And then the final thing we need to do here is p.run. Okay, so let's save this. Things are not going to work very well because we don't have these things actually declared here within scope. So that's going to be the next thing we do is we're going to set up our completer and our executor. And as part of this, we're also going to set up some suggestions on things we can use to actually autocomplete. Okay. So that's one of the great things about this this library is I can pass in prompt.document. Yep. So we're going to pass in the actual document here that we're trying to complete, and then we're going to return out prompt.suggest slice. Okay. And so inside of here, we can start with suggestions, and we can : and we'll do prompt.suggest, and we'll just have it as an empty slice. Okay. And then what we can do is return this empty. Okay. Prompt.filter, has prefix, oops, filter has prefix, and then we're going to return suggestions, and we're going to return d.get word before cursor and pass in true here. Okay, so this is what this is going to allow us to do is see here. Let's make this a little bigger. I think this is a little hard to read here. There we go. So what this is going to do is this is going to pass in this completer function is going to get called whenever you start to type something in the command prompt, and it will run this and look for suggestions that match what you're typing. Now what we're doing is we're just returning the default, which is going to be no suggestions. Okay. And so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to declare our get executor. Okay. And we're going to pass in the file string here so that we know how to open it and everything inside of here. And what we're going to return here is actually another function that takes a string. Okay. Now the reason we're doing this is we want to be able to declare a couple of things here, like what file we're working with, and so we want to do this as a closure. And outside of the actual file, outside of this function, what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to put a to-do here, because eventually we're going to set up file for database. Okay, so that's why we're returning this as a closure. So then we're going to return the function that we're actually going to take in, and with our closure scope. And inside of here, we're going to say S is the string that's being passed in. This is the string that's being typed into the command line. Okay, just so that you're aware here. So we're going to set up strings and we're going to bring in the strings package here. And we're going to trim all extra space. Trim space on S, and then we're going to say S is going to equal strings dot to lower this S. There we go. So we're going to make sure all extra spaces have been trimmed out of it, and everything is moved to lowercase for us. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a switch on S, and we're going to say case of an empty string. So they hit enter and there's nothing in there. All we're going to do here is we're going to return. Okay. And we're going to return nothing. Okay. In the case of a command. So what kind of commands can we take here? What I'm going to start with is just, I'm going to follow the syntax of SQLite command line interface, and anything that starts with a dot is a command to SQLite itself. So I'm going to take two commands just to make things easier on us. I'm going to take .quit and I'm going to take .exit. So either of those is an acceptable command. And then I am going to log, which we're going to say, let's see, log. Oh, well, let's bring in log from outside. So up here, we're going to say github.com/rs/0log/log. Okay, this way we're using our log, our actual log file. And here, there we go. Yes, we want to confirm that we're bringing in that log. And then we'll say .info.message, and we'll say something like goodbye. Okay, so there we go. So we're gonna print out, and we're gonna say we accept this command, goodbye, and then the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna call OS, the OS package, and we're gonna call exit with, exit, not executable, and we're gonna pass in 0, which means we exited successfully. Where everything went well and things look good. Okay. And then the last thing we're gonna do is we're going to process some commands, but we don't have any commands to actually process yet that are outside of those basic commands. So in here, we'll just put a to-do, and we're going to say process commands here. Hey, okay. So let's save all this. All right, now we have everything we need for a basic prompt. We have everything we need for the executor, and we have a basic completer. So if I bring up my terminal window over here, I can run go mod tidy, and what this will do is this will download all of these packages for us. Everything, it will get downloaded locally. Now I've built stuff before using these packages, so they're all stored locally already, but if they haven't been found, it will download them and install them in your local Go package directory. Okay. So now everything is brought in. These squigglies will all go away once we've used all of this. But at this point, I can actually just run go run and run the actual package, and let's see what happens. If everything works, oh yeah, I guess I actually have to, inside of my main function, use this engine that I just created. Okay, so we need to start the prompt. So how are we going to do this? We're going to say CLI.start prompt. Okay, and we're going to pass in some random string. This is going to be a random file that we're going to work with here. Okay, so we'll eventually grab the file name from flag from the command line options. But for now, we're going to pass in a random string and see what happens. So let's save that and run it again. Prompt redeclared as imported package name in engine.go. Let's see. Oh, did I import it twice? Oh, I did. Oh, yeah, I guess it automatically pulled that in for me. That's fine. Let's save this. I guess it gets brought in as prompt. I don't remember why I used to do it that way. I used to put prompt at the beginning to make sure it came in as prompt. But apparently that's what it exports as. So that's fantastic. That's wonderful. Okay, so if we run it now, oh, look at this. So if I type in like test, oh, nothing there. But if I type in .quit, this is one of our commands that we recognized. There we go. So we have our pretty format for our log message, for our timestamps. We have information because we did a .info and we said goodbye. Okay, that was a whole lot to cover just to get a basic command prompt up and running on the screen, but hopefully this now helps you understand how to use Go prompt as a package, how to use zerolog as a logger, and how to set up a basic completer. What we can do now is we can add in one more final thing just to make this a little bit nicer to use, and that last piece is an actual suggestion. Okay, so inside of CLI, I'm going to create one more file, and I'm going to call this suggestions.go. And inside of this file, I'm going to make sure this is in the package CLI, and then I'm going to bring in, I'm going to create a new type, and I'm going to call this the suggestion type, and this is going to be an integer. Okay, and then I'm going to set up the equivalent of an enum inside of Go is done using a constant block. And so I'm going to say this is my commands block, and it is a suggestion type, and we're going to set it to IOTA. So this is starting basically at 0 and counting up. So we're doing an enumeration. So everything we add from this point forward into this constant block will be of the suggestion type, and it will be an integer starting at 0 and auto-incrementing up for us. So this is the way we create an enum block. Okay. Then I'm going to set up just a basic command suggestions, and this is going to be the same thing. It's going to be a prompt, and we're going to bring in go prompt dot suggest, and we're going to go ahead and set up our slice here, and I can set up a couple of things. I'm going to set up the text that gets passed in, and this is going to be a string, so we're going to say .quit. That is one of our two commands. And we're going to say description, and we're going to set up quit/exit application. Okay? I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it for the second, and then I'm going to replace quit with exit. Since they do the exact same thing, I just want to make sure both of them are declared. So you can see we're not actually using command suggestions yet, so let's actually bring that in. So we're going to set up a suggestions map, and we're going to do this as a map of type suggestion type, and the type out here we're going to do a slice of prompt. Oops, we don't want prompt dot suggest. Okay. So let's set this up. This is our new map. So we'll have a map between suggest type and return a slice of prompt.suggest. Then what we do is we do commands as the suggestion type, colon, command suggestions. Okay, so this is our suggestions map. Now how do we actually use this? That's the next piece. We're going to go back to our engine, And inside of the suggestions block up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to do underscore. I don't need the first variable here. I need s for a suggestion, and I'm going to do a range on the suggestions map that we just created. Okay, so I'm going to go for each suggestion in the suggestions map. I'm going to add this. I'm going to say suggestions equals append onto suggestions, and we're going to append s with the splat. Okay, we're going to append this slice onto there. Save this. Okay, so we have for each suggestion in this suggestions map. We're only going to grab the second half. We're going to say suggestions append on the suggestions map. Okay, and so this tells it this is our list of possible suggestions. Here we go. Okay, so let's run it. Let's see what happens. If I go run and I start to type something, so test, oh, nothing happens. But if I type nothing, if I leave it empty, it'll show me the suggestion map. I can tab through both of these and it will help me pick what I want to run. I hit enter and it selects that for me. So this is a really nice way using Go prompt. We can use suggestions in all of this. Okay, so that is all we're going to cover. This is already a 20-minute lesson. This is a lot to cover in a single lesson. So there are going to be a lot of lessons in this tutorial series. So follow along. You'll learn a lot about SQL. You'll learn a lot about building command line applications. Hopefully this is something that you'll enjoy. If you have any questions, again, post it down in the comments below. If not, I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson.